Hi everyone, I'm Anika and I'm back. Since I have some work going on, I can't be active like before. From today onwards, you can expect regular videos related to UPSC from me. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the video. As you can see, today's topic is on the introduction of UPSC examination. Let's get into detail. What is UPSC examination? UPSC examination is a civil service examination, and each year UPSC conducts this exam to select officers for various services. Now, we have to know what are those services. Okay, services involves the three categories. We are classifying it as three categories. Overall, there were 24 services. Um, this CSE examination, civil service examination, which fill these 24 services. Now, it is classified in these three main categories. First is All India Services. All India Services uh, or main three branches or IAS, IPS, and IFOS. IAS is a many famous post. Everybody knows that. Now, what is their function? Let's see. IAS handles affairs of government, involves the framing and implementation of policy in consultation with the concerned ministers. Implementation of policies calls for minister supervision and also traveling to the places where the decisions taken are being implemented. This is where it was their most important work. Next is IPS officers. When you see that IPS and IFOS will see, and first IPS of post, when you see the syllabus, there will be, apart from examination, you have to satisfy some other extra criteria too, like eyesight. They will be give some number, you have to be satisfied that, and the LASIK surgery is permitted, and also they will give some of the measurements for both male and female chest and height measurements. You have to satisfy that. Uh, then let's see what is their function. Okay, IPS officers are one of the three all Indian services, and it replaced the Indian Imperial Police in 1948. IPS force officers immense has the immense power to officer, especially some non-mentioned powers, to maintain order in the society in the time of crisis. The IPS service is not a force itself but provides leaders and commanders to staff the state police and all Indian Central Armed Police Services. The next thing is IFOS. It's an Indian Forest Service. When you apply for an UPSC prelims examination, there will be a question whether you are going to apply only for prelims of IAS, or you are going to apply for IFOS, or both. Okay, according to your wish, you can select that. And IFOS is an Indian Forest Service. It has the same prelims but separate mains. Okay, the main mandate of this IFOS service is the implementation of National Forest Policy, which aims to ensure the environmental stability and maintenance of an ecological balance. An IFS officer is largely independent of district administration and exercises administrative, judicial, and financial powers in their own domain. Then, after All India services, we have to know what is Group A services, and we are going to see Group B services. Now, we are going to see what is Group A services. Group A services involves actually nearly 16 services here comes. Okay, first main thing everybody knows is Indian Foreign Service. Okay, Indian Foreign Service, you don't need to have special graduation in this any field or any certificate for a foreign language to apply for this post. Straight away you can apply after you're posted to an no for a different country. If their language is different other than that, other than ours, there will be an 1 year of training which will be given by that academy. Okay, so you have don't need to worry for that. When you are choosing, you can choose Indian Foreign Services if you are interested in it. Then what are the other apart from this IFS services? What there? People who get appointed in this Group A services will be officials and are employed at various managerial positions across governments, which are one of the highest available jobs. Okay, here I give all the services comes under Group A services. Okay, first is you can see Indian Postal and Telecommunication Accounts and Finance Service, Indian Audit and Account Service, Defense Account Service, Civil Account Service. These all come under accounts related services of Group A. And another things is Indian Revenue Service, Customs and Central Excise, Revenue Service, Trade Service. These all comes under trade, taxation related, corporate law, ordnance factory services, or corporate related, defense related, ordnance factory services, defense estate services comes under defense related group A services. Then Indian Postal Service, Indian Information Service. These all comes under communication related Group A services. And as you can see, it's all railway related. Indian Railway Traffic Service, Railway Account Service, Railway Personnel Service, Post of Assistant Security Commissioner in Railway Protection Force. These all services comes under Group A services. These are high level posts. Next is Group B services. Uh, as you can see, it's all mainly focused on a union territory, and mainly what is Group A services means. It is an authority. They are for gazetted officers, similar to that of a Group A officer. Now you can see here armed forces, Delhi, Andaman, Nicobar Islands, Lakshadweep, Daman and Diu, Dadra Nagar Haveli. Now it is joined together, but you can see it is a notification released in 2000, 1920 of UPSC examination. So as I gave it what is in that notification itself, and the police service, civil service of these union territories, and also Pondicherry. Okay, now you may ask what is the difference between Group A services and Group B services. Now Group A services usually get 6 to 8 promotions in their full career of civil service, and about Group B services also like that. The only difference between Group A and Group B is their salary difference. Group A were the some of high level posts, then the Group B services. Everyone will be appointed as a secretaries in that corresponding department. Then they will get promoted to the highest level. Okay, IAS is far more highest because they will appointed as an state district magistrates. Then they will be appointed. Their highest level of appointment is the Secretary of Government, Secretary to the Government of India. This is what their hierarchy will be goes once you will get appointed. Now these were the posts. Okay, now we are going to see, next we will see about the minimum age and number of attempts you one can make in a brief. Okay, while you are attempting for an examination, you have to know these things. First thing is general and creamy OBC layers. Based on that, creamy is about more the annual income of a person of a family is more than 8 lakhs. It comes under creamy OBC layer. When you are in this layer, you have to only for I added this relaxation ages too. So up to 32 years of age, you can attempt 6 attempts for this UPSC examination. And the second thing is non-creamy OBC layers. These people where comes under the non-creamy is the one's annual income is comes under 8 lakh. Okay, so this non-creamy OBC layer people can attempt at 9 attempts till they attain the age of 35 age. And about scheduled caste and scheduled tribe people, there is no the classification as creamy or non-creamy. If you are comes under this caste people, they can give unlimited attempts until they reach an age of 37 age. And the final is PH category. What is this? It is in a physically challenged people or physically category is PH category, and for them up to the age of 42 age they can attempt. But here there is another classification. If a PH candidate is a and comes under general, that is unreserved category or an OBC category, they can give 9 attempts. If that PH category people comes under an SC/ST, then they can give unlimited attempts till they attain the age of 42. Okay, and after this we are going to see the next important thing for an examination is an eligibility criteria. What is an eligible criteria for that examination? The main eligibility is, for every examination which is conducted in India, you have to be an Indian national. That is the main category. And the second is an age limits. As before itself we say we see that age limits. And the last one is academic qualification. For an UPSC aspirant, you have to be an degree candidate. You must be a graduate. Okay, for an UPSC application, there is no minimum percentage is needed, but you should be a graduate. Whether you are getting failed or finally you have some arrears and finally you clear, that doesn't matter for an UPSC. It's only need final graduation certificate or a mark sheet. Okay, and final year or awaiting results, for also the person who are awaiting for the results can also apply for this while you are applying for prelims. But when you are applying for a mains examination, you have to provide this final year mark sheets, then only you can apply for that mains examination. And the final thing is, and the sorry and the next thing is about undergraduate in last year or a semester can also apply. And American or foreign degrees can also be validated, but you have to get equivalent certificate from our Indian universities. Distant education degree is also valid. Some medical professional degrees, that is, if you get a law or a engineering degree, that people can also apply. Then the fund then comes, and then the important thing is MBBS candidates. If you are doing an MBBS and okay, you are in the final year and yet to complete an internship, then you are also eligible for IAS prelims. But when you comes to an prelim UPSC interview stage, at that time you have to complete your that internship period, and you have to provide your certificate for that too. This is the main eligibility criteria how one should follow. And the last thing, next we are going to see about how this process takes place. That is, we are going to see what are the stages of the examinations are there. Okay, now if you want to become an officer in any of these above services, okay, you have to clear these examination in these 3 stages. That is, first is with prelims. You have to start with prelims. Then after you qualified from prelims, you have to go for mains examination. After mains, there is an interview. Depending on the merit, preferences and vacancies, you will get the allotment. Next, we are going to see how the prelims process would take place. And from prelims, there is two examinations. One is the GS examination you will write in the morning, and in the afternoon you will have CSAT. Okay, and GS there will be there will be 100 questions, and CSAT 80 questions. First we will see about GS, then we go for CSAT. Okay, and here I gave it as in compared format, and the negative mark is there for every exams for both GS and CSAT. It is just a qualifying nature. These mark is not carried over to your interview. Only mains and interview mark is important while you are attending, while you are going for an posting. But this is a qualifying. The person who qualified in the prelims will go for mains. The number of questions for GS is 100 questions, and CSAT there will be 80 questions, which will be converted to 200 marks. The total marks for these two examinations 200 marks. If there is a negative mark, yes, there is a negative mark. There's 1/3 of the maximum marks for the question. For each question, there will be 2 marks. For every correct answer, you will get 2 marks. If it's an every wrong answer, 1/3 mark will get reduced. Okay, in CSAT there will be minus 0.83 marks. Since it is an 80 questions, you get minus 0.83 marks. Okay, and this prelims is qualified based on your CSAT. If you get 33 percentage, which is the qualifying criteria, if first they will correct CSAT. If you are qualified in the CSAT, then only you go your GS paper will be corrected. Okay, and after your count, it is a 2 hour examination. Each is 2 hour examination. It will be in bilingual, both English and Hindi. The person who don't know Hindi, you can see English and you can answer it. Then the final GS mark will be varied. So every year it will be varied because based on your question, moderate or difficulty level, based on your question level and the question paper level and the persons who had the highest mark, the variation will be happen. So it will vary every year. Based on that variation, it will be counted for merit. This is what the prelims examination will be. Then it is a mains and interview examination. Here for mains examination, like CSAT in prelims, the qualifying mark, here you have two paper A and paper B. Paper A is one of the Indian languages. You can select it from that 8th schedule constitution. You can write in this. And then paper B will be English paper. It's a compulsory mandatory English paper. You have to write in this. It's a qualifying nature. Minimum marks you get is 25%. In this 300 mark, you have to get 25%. Then only your other papers will be corrected. Here paper after this, the first paper is essay paper. Essay paper, you have general topics you have to write, and this is for 250 marks. Then paper 2, it is general studies paper. You have it's about Indian heritage and culture, history, geography of world and society. You have to read everything. This will be in GS 1. So 250 marks. Then paper 3 is GS2 paper, which is governance, constitution, polity, social justice, international relations, all for 250 marks. And paper 4 is about general studies 3, which is science and technology, economy related paper, environment, economy, and science and technology. These three things is focused in this, and it's also for 250 marks. And the last paper is about ethics, integrity, and aptitude. It's for 250 marks. And finally paper 6 and 7, these two papers are for optional subject. Earlier it was you have to select two optionals. From now onwards, past 4 or 5 years before, it became only one single paper. You have to write that in two papers. Okay, paper 2 and paper 3. Paper 1 and paper 2. So these both for 250 marks. You have to choose the optional papers from the given optionals, which is more easier for you, and you're good in that. Okay, you have to select in that manner your optional, and you have to go for that. After the mains examination, the after you're qualified, you get the merit, and then the last stage is an interview stage. In there it is just personality test. Okay, and there will be a set of candidates who will reviewer, the board members will review whether you are qualifying for that service or not. That is what their main focus they will view, and then regarding that they will ask you some questions. So interview, it's that. Okay, and totally overall for interview you have to get 275 marks. From this overall 2025 marks for what you are get based on that merit and based on your preference, whether you are opt for IAS, IPS, or IFS or IFOS, whatever services you will be posted in that manner. This is what the overall stages and examinations will conduct by UPSC. The next we are going to see about the syllabus, and finally we are coming to see that, but we are not going to see that in this video, since it has already become a very long video and I don't want to extend it more than this. So we will see it on a separate video, what are the syllabuses of UPSC. So for until now, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, share this to your friends, relatives, or anyone who know who prepare for your competitive exams. It might be useful for them. I will see you in my next video. Until then, bye. Peace out.